of Grey podcast with Dr. John Gray, New York Times bestselling author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And now, Dr. John Gray.
Welcome, everybody. Today, we've got a great show. It's Single by Choice, Why More Women Are Opting Out of Dating. I saw some recent research showing 82% of women are opting out on dating, but it was basically the women who were between 18 and 24, I think it was. So the young college age, and that's one reason. And then it's about half of women above that, or if you combine all the women of dating age, half of them are opting out of dating. They're choosing not to be in relationships. And so I thought we should talk today about why women would choose not to be in intimate relationships. There's a lot of factors here, but one of my favorite phrases that is good endings make good beginnings. And when you look at the idea of good endings make good beginnings, it's the recognition that a woman can go on a few dates and not have such a good experience. And without a good experience, she starts to think, well, all men are that way. Or she goes on a lot of dates and she finds that what she doesn't particularly feel safe or attracted to is the men she's been dating. Are they all that way? And what's wrong if they're all that way? So that's another dynamic, because women often don't understand, appreciate the masculinity. Today, there's a lot of confusion around masculinity, toxic masculinity. So we're going to cover a lot of these ideas. Is there such a thing as toxic masculinity? Of course, there's toxic people. I think there's toxic women. I think there's toxic men. There's no question about it. When you look at what's going on today is, I think psychology and pop psychology, although people could call me a pop psychologist, pop psychology has defines certain elements of masculinity and in more extreme cases, and then it becomes generalized into every man. Let me give you an example of that. We have words that psychology has invented, like trauma. I feel traumatized. Well, we casually use these words now instead of recognizing that when somebody is terrified, in danger, that's trauma. But now it could be, somebody was rude to me on the phone and I feel traumatized by that. Or I had, a woman could be saying, usually men don't say this, but women would say, after sex, I had sex with somebody, he didn't call me back, and I feel so traumatized by that. So we casually throw these phrases around. The word I was actually looking for was abused. I felt abused. Okay, so I felt frustrated. I felt disappointed. I didn't like it. It wasn't nice. He wasn't kind. He was selfish. He was inconsiderate. These are all like normal phrases of life, as opposed to I felt abused. So that's another encouraged phrase of psychology is, there is such a thing as abuse. Somebody beats you up. That's a real thing. You have real trauma from that, and you felt beat up and you've been abused. But, you're in a relationship. It's like I was in a relationship, a business relationship where I put a lot of money in and I was betrayed, meaning the person lied to me and I felt cheated and whatever. I don't feel abused, but one could feel abused if it triggered unresolved feelings from your childhood. And then you feel that's where trauma really lies. Trauma lies when things are truly life-threatening in the moment, or something that triggers unresolved feelings from our childhood, and maybe other experiences stacked on top of that. Welcome, Kaylor. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, everybody who's joining in here on Thursdays at Facebook and on live on YouTube. Warm greeting from Greece. I'm Beata. Glad to have you here. So the idea here is, and you've heard me talk about this before, but it's so common for people to tell themselves the language, the words you use dictate what you feel inside. It's your thoughts, but your thoughts, if you use a word, what happens before a word is the thought and the belief. So when you use these words, you're affirming the belief of being a victim. The big word, which I see over and over and over, is I felt hurt. You just have to recognize when I get my feelings hurt, and it's real. I mean, I get it. I've had my feelings hurt, okay? You feel really, really hurt. And from there you can go on to feeling, dramatic words like I feel betrayed, I feel abused. And that's okay. If that's what you're feeling, feel it. It's important to be aware of it and be aware of where it comes from. It comes from an irrational part of the brain. It's not about reality. Don't believe what you feel as a fact about the external world. So women could be in a relationship with a man and they get their feelings hurt, or then they'll tell this whole story that men are, there are these terrible men. What's the toxic masculinity? Let's just add this word toxic. We do live in a world of toxins. There's no question about it. And so men can be toxic, women can be toxic. Ironically, we don't see women as being toxic because part of the whole toxicity, if you want to use the word, we'll just use a kind of a nicer word, which is unsupportive. Women can be very unsupportive to a man and not recognize that they're being unsupportive. They think they're being loving, and yet it comes across as not supportive. Men think they're being loving, and it comes across as not supportive. What will happen is when we make these mistakes, the common thing for women who talk on the internet, who have pop psychology, is the big word is, he's a narcissist. He's a narcissist, not knowing, the actual clinical meaning of narcissist. Basically, he was selfish. And then you can question, was he really selfish, or was he self-centered, too self-centered, or insensitive is a better word. He was insensitive, he was unconscious, he didn't understand me. As opposed to he never understands. So that's another dynamic where we tend to exaggerate and inflate, magnify our own personal drama. And when you use these words, it inflames and activates wiring in your brain going back to your childhood repressed feelings, or simply, in a less psychological term, activating your fight or flight response when there's no danger. We just don't want to activate this fight or flight response. And the words we use can do it, because it's as if the brain's always listening to what you say. What you say is a reflection of what you believe, even though you may not be conscious of what your limited beliefs are. But anytime you're experiencing anger or resentment or hurt or these judgmental phrases, then the problem with judgmental phrases is they even disconnect you from feeling the emotions inside. But whenever you're feeling fight or flight type emotions, these are stress emotions, they're all based upon overreaction. They're all based upon imbalance, which means you focus primarily on the negative and not the positive. Then the negative is going to always be extreme. So we become extremist in our thoughts and our beliefs. If you can't balance the negative with the positive, then the negative is always irrational. And yet it's also true. Okay, he didn't clean this glass, or she didn't want to have sex with me, as opposed to all the other times she did. She never wants to have sex. Okay, this is what some men could feel frustrated about. And that's not the case, because sometimes she does. And there are cases where she never wants to have sex, and that is sexless marriage. And then you have to understand, what are you doing to create a sexless marriage? Why is she not interested in having sex with you? And of course, that's, again, our theme today is, why women are not dating, is there's so much pressure on women to have sex. Okay, our culture says, oh, if you don't have sex on the first 10 dates, you're a prude. And maybe it goes down to, like, for some people, 3 or 4 dates, like it's a schedule, 10 dates, or never. There's no obligation, from my point of view, what I like women to know, no obligation ever to have sex. And no wisdom, the wisdom of having sex is that if you have sex before commitment, you will be hurt. It will simply that. That will cause you to feel hurt. It will activate. It's not hurtful because you're choosing to do it, okay? So you're not a powerless victim here, but you have sex without commitment. A man will lose interest in you quite often because he got what he wanted and he didn't have to commit. And so that's a very surface kind of transactional analysis of the whole thing, and we have to look at that as well. But a lot of women aren't dating because there's such a pressure to be in relationships. You have to have sex with some guy. And of course, you're not going to want to have sex with some guy if you're in touch with your female side. You're going to go, wait a second, I'm not just going to give it away for free. And here's the phrase that the feminists hate, which is, if you give the milk away for free, they don't buy the cow. There's a basic reality of between the male and female. We're designed this way, which is women get pregnant when they have sex, could get pregnant when they have sex. So there's a risk there. And when there's a risk of having a child, naturally the body of a woman is going to say, I don't want to have sex with someone because I could have a baby unless that person is going to be there for me to help me raise the baby. This is all perfectly logical. And think of this whole body system as completely intelligent. And then after World War II, around that time, we have now birth control starts to come into the world, and everything starts to change with the 60s. Now on a logical level, you don't have to worry about having a baby because you can use birth control. Therefore, there's no logical reason why you should hold back on sex, except that there is a logical reason to hold back on sex because your body doesn't know. Your body doesn't know that just because you're taking birth control that you're not going to make a baby. The body's still going along thinking estrogen levels go up to ovulate, which means that you need to feel that I have somebody who's there for me. And then so you feel when you have sex, your estrogen levels go up, it gets stimulated, your oxytocin levels get produced, and you attach. Your brain attaches. It's inevitable when you have this very pleasurable experience of making love and having sex, having an orgasm, your body will attach. Attach to what? Attach to somebody who's not there for you. And the same thing, so afterwards you feel hurt, you see, as opposed to, I made a mistake, okay? And maybe that's part of deeper than the hurt is the shame of having opened yourself up and having somebody not call you back, someone not be there for you, not someone being committed to you. And there's a spiritual dimension to this, is when you have sex without commitment. When you have sex without commitment, you open your soul, you open up, your resistances go down to somebody who's not committed to you, who's going to reject you. He's not into you. He's going to move on from you. He was just there to have the sex. It's the same thing for men with pornography. It's the only time when a man opens up fully. Just like an orgasm for women, they open up fully, and what do you receive? Not much. And when a man climaxes, what happens is his mirror neurons are wide open to receive. Normally they're not. So finally you feel like, okay, now I can receive. And what do I receive is a liar, a deception, an illusion, not real. It's a fantasy of love, and yet you don't receive it. So naturally, a man, his testosterone levels crash. What I noticed for me as a man, I can just tell you my experience. It's hard to measure all these things, but I know that as a spiritual being, 9 months being a celibate monk, what happens is when you have advanced meditation practices, you live not just in your body, but you feel this infinite, unbounded, unlimited consciousness that surrounds you. We all have that spirit. We're just not necessarily aware of the energy vortex around our body and then the oneness with the universe. That's many years of meditation practice can give you that. and a sustained state. Good meditation can give you that. Taking psychedelics will give you an example of that. I mean, it's very powerful. It's just not integrated into your life. But anybody, the whole story of now they're magic mushrooms and psychedelics and DMT, all these things are now being seen as therapeutic tools, so I can freely talk about them. They've all been a part of my life and my life experience, a very positive experience. Thanks to Elsa, says great content from Mexico. So this unconscious, expanded awareness is connection to your soul. Your soul's here, just people aren't aware of this witness behind us that's watching everything, was never born and never dies, okay? It's just always there. But we don't have that awareness when we come into this world. We tend to lose awareness of that aspect of who we are. We have a spirit, and the spirit is the part of us that is connected to the infinite intelligence of the universe, just like I have a mind that records everything and repeats everything. I have a body that embodies the spirit. So the point being here is giving a little background of my experience with all this. Everything I teach is based on my experience and also the experience of the people I've counseled and taught over 50 years, along with most often research backing it up. When I get into the spiritual zone, I don't have a lot of research backing it up other than my personal experience. And what I would share is that why it's soul crushing and spirit crushing is when you have sex without commitment, which again is why there's so many single women, is there's so much pressure to have sex with somebody. And then we'll understand why that being one of the pressures, only one of the reasons women are not dating. We're going to keep going into it. And also, for those that are married that listen to me, this is all very relevant to your own relationship because the dynamics are pretty much the same in many ways in terms of why couples stop having sex over time and why sex stop being so exciting, even if there is commitment. Well, we'll look into that. But for the single woman, this is a big deal, which she may not be aware of. She feels, they said in one study, 50% of women just don't want to be in a relationship. Well, the whole process of getting into a relationship, I remember one woman saying to me, who didn't want to date anymore, and she just says, I just don't want to face having to get naked with another person, another man again. Just like, yeah. We all have, to various degrees, issues with our body, not feeling. That's why we put on clothes, is that we don't feel so secure in our beauty that we'll be accepted and appreciated and seen and recognized as good. Maybe there's a few percent that have that confidence, and that will be past fading. But what's interesting for me is when I was a counselor in LA and having models, they were the most critical women of their bodies. They were the most critical, secretly critical of their imperfections, because the closer you get to what we might call perfection, you see the imperfections so clearly, as opposed to just getting used to not being perfect, but putting on nice clothes and looking good and so forth. So add to that having to get naked with another man, it's having to open your soul up to a man who's not committed to you, a man who doesn't adore you, a man who doesn't love you, a man that you feel safe with, a man who has proven that safety. Safety is one thing, but proving the safety through real life experience, through time. This is like a very, very important thing, is that women feel safe to open up sexually. And for a man, what I knew to be the case as a spiritual being, which has been a foundation of all my work, is the connection with the divine intelligence, an open heart, my soul, which is learning lessons, always eager to learn, curious always. The experience I had having been celibate, never releasing that energy, but just going to my higher self, and it was interesting through meditation. I didn't really fully experience the soul, I experienced the spirit, which is the unbounded connection to the universal intelligence of the universe, organizing power of the universe, and so forth. So when you have that very clear, wonderful experience of unbounded awareness, you're just, particularly for the first, 20 years of it, was like so exciting because it was so different from being bound in this body. But when I started having sex after being a celibate and releasing the semen energy and having the climax with women, very wonderful women, loved them, liked them, it was a beautiful experience. Boom, every time it would be, huge amount. Sometimes all of that unbounded awareness would just disappear. I was back in the body, and I was like disconnected from home. That's heaven is our home that we come from, and it would just diminish. And I'd meditate some more and whatever. It would come back to various degrees. But I'd say, 50% of it was just gone for a long time, and by having many sexual experiences with lovely women, but I wasn't committed to them. But it definitely disconnected me from my spirit. And then when I fell in love with Bonnie and was in a committed relationship with Bonnie so that I wanted to share my life with her, what I found is ejaculating, climaxing, didn't deplete my energy at all. It was like sustaining, integrating that divine energy. So that's one of the pluses for those who are wanting spiritual growth and development, is to have sex without commitment is to lose your connection again and again and again. It's kind of like filling up your love tanks, your spiritual love tank, and then emptying it out and emptying it out. And you start to feel empty. Something is missing. This padding of consciousness around you is dissipated. So that's on a spiritual level. On a very biological, hormonal level, when women have sex, there's a massive amount of oxytocin that gets released. And oxytocin is attachment. It's literally, he becomes a part of you. He's inside of you, okay? And your brain attaches to that. And then when he finishes, it's like being ripped out. And it's like losing. It's a feeling of losing. And when women were encouraged to have a lot of sex, there was an empowerment that did happen. And it's a good empowerment, which is women going to their male side. Look what I can do. When you're on your male side, following your desires. See, your masculine side is your desire side of you, and your feminine side of you is the awareness of what I need. So you've got these women who are way on their male side, ambitious, achieving, accomplishing. That's on their male side. And it's very easy for them to disconnect from their female side, which is an awareness of what they need. And so what I'm saying here is for that 50% of women that don't date, their mind is getting away of being in touch with their need for intimacy, their need for bonding, their need for sharing their life, their need to experience wholeness through bonding with a man. Now, I'm not saying everybody's that way, but when you look at 50% of women, you got to look at what's going on here. And that women are biologically wired in order to go to the highest level of estrogen and testosterone, which is to be orgasmic. Now, orgasm for a woman is different if it's with a man inside of you versus alone or with another woman. Okay, so there's a different biological reaction. So we have to look at, what's going on here? So a woman can easily, with a vibrator, give herself an orgasm, and I just... I'll say this. I saw an interview of a woman who's, basically masturbating all the time and talking about how orgasmic she is. And I really couldn't connect with any spirituality at all. It was all just talk. I felt a drained, empty woman, sorry to say. Yet, totally experiencing the pleasure of orgasm. Now, that is true. Pleasure is pleasure, but at a certain point, your soul recognizes pleasure is nothing compared to love and the highest levels of love and connection and sharing and so forth. So and sex is about increasing pleasure without a doubt, but the point of it is it's a pleasure that allows you to feel more. The purpose of it is to feel more, and when you can feel more, then you can feel more love. So it's a celebration of love, it's the expression of love. It's not all about experiencing pleasure and pleasure and pleasure and pleasure. Pleasure is drains your energy, okay? Too much pleasure will drain your energy. And unless it's balanced with pleasure, which is allowing you to feel the love. Because when you feel pleasure, energy goes out of you. But if it's being received by someone, there's a cycle of energy where you're feeling the pleasure and it's going into someone. If I eat ice cream, it's pleasure just going, energy being released, goes out. If you have pleasure, which is with your partner, as a doorway to feeling your love, then the energy gets released into your partner and comes right back. Because when you feel love, you're receiving. you're giving, of course. Love is caring, but love is primary. Love is receiving. So if I'm giving pleasure to a woman through sex, I'm giving pleasure to her. And it's very pleasurable to me as well. So I have my pleasure, and that motivates men to have sex, is how pleasurable it is. And giving her pleasure allows her to feel more. She feels more love. And when I have pleasure, it allows me to feel more. Now we've elevated sex into making love, which is my mirror neurons open, where it's the only time where a man can fully let in love. So I let in her love that she's feeling for me, and appreciation and trust and acceptance and the safety she feels that I'm providing for her. So when she's receiving that and my mirror neurons are open, that's when her love lands, and I'm able to feel the transforming, healing power of love for a man. That's why sex is so important to men. And when men can't get sex, so when men have all these beliefs as well that women only want your money and so forth, when that's not true. What women are looking for is to feel safety, and yet some women don't know what they're looking for, and so they don't know what they need, and so they're not interested in relationships. In this context, it's a great question. Somebody asked, do you think honeymoon stage can last forever? If so, how? No, honeymoon stage doesn't last forever. Honeymoon stage is fantasy. But the perks of the honeymoon stage, which is great making love, feeling attraction, not so you're feeling so much attraction that your whole life stops. That's why you go on a vacation during the honeymoon stage. It's hard to maintain integration, raise a family, get the jobs done, pay the bills, earn the money, clean the house. All these, practical realities is not going to happen in the honeymoon stage. But literally, probably, 3 times a week, sometimes 5 days a week. When I'm getting to bed, I'm in the honeymoon stage with my wife, and then part of the time during the day, we're in the honeymoon stage. But you're not just, soaking in the attraction all the time. I'm focused on this. I'm focused on this. I'm not even thinking of my wife right now or feeling turned on to my wife right now. I'm doing something else. But the honeymoon stage is just, it's obsession. It just takes you over. And it's very ungrounded. It's not based on reality. It's based on newness. So there's the newness of the sexuality with this person. It just amps up your hormones so much to a higher level. And that then desensitizes your dopamine receptor sites, and then you'll have a crash from that. That's often called the why married women will often gain weight in the first year of their marriage. After I think it's 6 months or 8 months, they've gained a certain amount of pounds. Same thing for girls that go to college. They'll suddenly, quite commonly, it's called, the first year, then they'll suddenly start to gain weight. And that's because the freedom that I can be myself, getting away from the oppressive parents, going to college, I can have fun, I can be myself. For the woman who's newly married, she's like, oh, finally, I have a commitment and my life is, determined. I can relax. I don't have to be more. I can be myself. So this is kind of like letting go that happens, which is elation. It's like orgasm, okay? And then after that fantasy, because what happens in the newness, your brain becomes overly optimistic and focuses only on the positive. It doesn't have a balance with the limitations of reality. So it has just the positive. And so then what happens is that high dopamine desensitizes the dopamine receptor sites and limits our ability to feel that optimism and that positivity and that motivation. So then everything we thought we had is kind of like not there. It kind of like disappears temporarily. And then because we don't know how to process the emotions that come up of disappointment, of discouragement, of fear, concern, worry, hurt, any emotions that come up, what happens is because we don't have the positive to balance it, we tend to go to the negative. We will tend to overeat, and that's why women will gain weight. They'll tend to overeat to compensate for the lack of passion. Men might focus more on work or more on video games, and so he becomes less attentive to her, less interested in her. So we want to find the balance in our lives. And so, the honeymoon stage is a sign of high dopamine. It's something we can learn from, which is why it's so important that we create newness in our life. Newness is very, very important to stimulate dopamine. Marriage is routine. And a lot of why women don't date again after being married is because the flatness was there. Their brain desensitizes. And then now we're talking about why women over 40 years old, even younger women, they're no longer making estradiol like they used to. In the early teenage years, you make a lot of estradiol. Estradiol produces all these hormones of estrogen, and that you can be really, really happy. You can be really, really sad. Estrogen allows you to be very, very emotional, and so understanding skills in relationship is another reason that women are not dating. One of the reasons is that you've dated a few men and it didn't work out. You think it's all men are that way. And then you look online and you say, oh, he's a narcissist because he was insensitive, or he's a narcissist because he didn't think about you. He doesn't, quote, care about you. He didn't ask you any questions. He just talked about himself. Well, you look at the other side of that. She was asking questions the whole time, and he's answering her questions. He doesn't think to ask you questions. He doesn't understand that. He assumes, see, this is what men are. If you understand men, we assume that if you have something to say, you'll say it. It's as simple as that. We assume that if you have something to say, you'll say it. So we don't ask you questions. When we don't ask you questions, then we have nothing to be interested in, and now we're not interested in you. And women are like holding back often from sharing what's inside because it doesn't seem like he's interested. And when you do share, what happens is he will hear you. And if you're sharing about anything which is a problem, then he'll offer you a solution. And then you won't share after that because it makes you feel like, he doesn't see your power, your strength. If you're talking about power, it seems like you don't have a solution for it, or he see you as weak, or see you as incompetent, or just the way you bond as a woman is to reveal more of you with a man than you would normally share with other people. See, that's intimacy. See deeper into me than other people see. There's something you can do. I've always thought about doing a version of it, but you can go online. You can find 50 questions to fall in love with somebody. It's simply, you have these questions, you ask the questions in a person that you don't normally ask people, and you reveal a part of you that you've never shared with anybody, or you reveal a part of you that you don't normally share with others, and that creates intimacy. And you have a certain amount of intimacy, and you start to bond. And as you start to bond, then you start to connect more with who you are inside. And as you connect with who you are more inside, you feel like, oh, you have a truth. This could be somebody I could share my life with. It takes a while to have that knowledge. That's why in one of my talks and one of my books on dating, it's the 5 stages of dating. You have to go through, the kind of the honeymoon phase, which is actually even before the honeymoon. There's the attraction phase. You can just be giddy. Oh my gosh, she likes me. Oh my gosh, he's fantastic. He called me back. Oh, he's talking to me. Oh, this is this thrill, excitement. It's a lot of danger. Okay, could this be the one? Could this not be the one? Could this be the one I'll share my life with? This is all big dopamine stimulation. And so it's very exciting. It can be very exciting, particularly when you're young and you haven't become jaded. So another reason many women aren't dating is they become jaded because they don't understand men. They look at these common things like narcissism. According to psychology, maybe 1% of men are narcissists, and yet many women will say, every man I meet is a narcissist. We have to look at either you're misinterpreting men or you're kind of like an attraction magnet for narcissists, which I doubt. I think it's you just don't understand men. And you're telling yourself these words, which is, my feelings were hurt, I feel betrayed, I feel cheated, I feel rejected, when really it just wasn't into you and he didn't call you back, and you're the one who chose to have sex with him. Because yes, you open your heart up to somebody who you haven't built a connection with, you're going to feel easily hurt by that. It's just not the natural thing. And historically, people always did this. Women were smart enough. Women have betrayed women. The whole feminist movement on one point of view was self-hatred. As women, to be loved, we have to be like men. Deny your own femininity, and that's weak. That's not lovable. But actually, what you don't know is that makes you most lovable. Then when women are 40 and get divorced and suddenly lose 15 pounds. Well, there could be a lot of reasons for that, but when you've been divorced, now suddenly you're gonna. One reason I would see for that is you've ended divorce, and I think what she's saying, which I think is very interesting, New York City here. Thank you, John. What she's saying is, good evening from the Netherlands. Thanks for joining, Ava. Is after you're in a relationship, you're overeating to avoid what you feel, and then you go through the divorce, and now you're free to feel what you feel, and you can begin to process it rather than push it down. Because you're staying in a relationship. The reason you're staying in a relationship, which is causing pain to you, is that you can stay. It causes pain, and to avoid feeling the pain, you just eat. Just eat. Boy, that just helps you do it. Now, when you're done with the relationship, that's divorce. Statistically, it has been shown that many couples, if they separate, they will get back together. And the reason they get back together is because without their partner around all the time, they can't blame their partner, and they have to start feeling accountable. Accountability, responsibility, that when there are problems, I'm responsible for them. When there are problems, it's my fault. Now, this is easier for men than it is for women. There's no question about it. I mean, for me as a man, it's very easy for me to see that everything that happens in my life is the result of me, the choices that I make, my mistakes, and that's how I can self-correct. And with the right body of knowledge, it's easy for men to self-correct. When men don't have the body of knowledge, of truth, they can't self-correct. Here, one of those women you're mentioning, also widow from Spain. Okay, thanks for joining us from Spain. So, and got James here. We appreciate these videos so much in Nebraska. You've changed our lives. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that, James. I'll say, I've got so many talks, I kind of think maybe I should stop doing them because there's so much out there, but I'm motivated by that. I could feel, okay, there's some acknowledgement, some motivation. Dr. Gray, what are some ways can parents, guardians pass this information on to their older male teenagers, young adults about dating and the pressures of meaningless sex and sexual activity? Shay, thanks so much. It's a real challenge today. I get it. It's hard. I could write a book on it and so forth, but they wouldn't read it. They're not into reading these books. That's part of me needs to feel I'll make a difference. No, don't stop, says Gazelle. If just teenage girls could recognize that putting out is going to push a man away, and that's a wisdom a mother can give to her daughter. That's there. A mother can be, the other Mars-Venus principles. She can be an example of that and be happy. Then kids will, and leave my books around, they will look at them for sure. If I've seen so many people come to me and they're adults and they say, yeah, your book was on my mother's table all when I was growing up. So finally I read it and my relationships are better. It just took me a while. This is a tough subject to teach young people because the indoctrination is the schools. The schools indoctrinate. And the whole idea of gender differences is repulsive to some kids and some younger generation, and who've been in college and they're in high school, and they say, oh, you can't say these things. You can't say these things. It's too controversial. And it's funny, I'll tell you what I've seen here is that recently I've been looking at the dating experts online. I've never watched them. I just do my own thing. And I'll tell you, they're just so negative, and you get a lot of attention if you're blaming men. Okay, if you're blaming men, you get a lot of attention. If you're Blaming women, you get a lot of attention. You get a lot of people following you when you're in the blame place. I remember the Iraq War, where President Bush said we should all go to war, first with Afghanistan and then Iraq. I was against both of them. They're obviously stupid. They were ridiculous. Now everybody, 20 years later says, yes, stupid, ridiculous, dumb, the massive mistakes. The same thing as the war now. They're all stupid and big mistakes at the end. It's unbelievable how stupid they were. And I saw it right away. And it wasn't men, by the way, just men that do that. I remember being in the faculty lounge at University of Southern California when they decided they're going to drop bombs on Afghanistan, send soldiers there. I was like, no, no, no. And all the women there were, 6 or 7 faculty member women going, yes, yes, let's go. They're mistreating women. We should all kill them, get rid of them, bomb them, take over the world. I said, you cannot just go into a culture and change it. You're crazy. This is all, violence is not the answer. They were all for it, so it's an illusion. It's an illusion. It's just men. Men are just they're on the strings of puppets of women. And that is really true, is that men will do anything to make women happy. They look strong for women and so forth. But this isn't about that. This is about learning why women today are not dating. And so the reason women are not dating today, are not wanting to be in relationship, is they don't see relationships as providing benefit for them. Now that's the big overall thing. I've been sort of going around it. But here's the real essence. And I was about to just talk about when I was listening to the dating people. Okay, so remember, the real story here is that women don't see men as being able to improve their lives. Women always, almost, are attracted to a man who can add to her life. And why wouldn't I as a man be attracted to a woman who can add to my life? It's just what she adds to my life is different from what I add to her life. Shay says, yes, and social media is making it worse for kids. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible what social media does. And it's just ignorance. It's more and more ignorance. And with the algorithm, as soon as you say yes to somebody who's ignorant, you'll just get more and more and more. As soon as I just put a check by one of these men giving advice, that's all I got. So now I'm seeing all these dating shows come up. My mom gave me your book when I was 18. I loved it and bought 9 more. Thank you so much, Gazelle. Appreciate it. Okay. So where to go here? I get a little distracted with all the notes, but I'm happy to interact with everybody. I'm glad that you're here, and I appreciate the acknowledgments that you have. I'm getting all these, watching these dating shows. I'm not going to mention names, but I know if I didn't know what I know, if I didn't have the grounding that I have in a happy marriage and an understanding of men and women, I would never get married as a man. I would never get married as a woman. You can logically look at marriage as the stupidest thing in the world. Why would a guy with resources marry a woman who can get a divorce and keep getting her resources? It's just like, what a stupid thing to do. And of course, it's a logical thing to do, and this is how men are becoming now. Men are also not, getting married and have avoidance to commitment and so forth because they can get the milk for free. And what is it they can do is they can get what they need most. What men need most is to experience love, but they experience it through sex. You have a partner who's willing to put out sexually for you, allows a man's hormones to change. And so I don't want to limit men to just being like, a dog in heat trying to have sex, although there's some that are that way. They just don't understand. The reason they need sex, that is the value that women provide, is love. Why do women need men? They need a man's love. They need a man's power and love. Okay, so there's we could try to be balanced here, but women need to feel that there's someone improving her life. And men need to feel that a woman is improving his life. And the way a woman improves a man's life, the value of a woman for a man is that it allows him to receive love. Otherwise, he has no love and his life is empty. And if you look at life as just relationships as just a transaction, it is. It's a transaction of value. What value do I get from a woman? Is I get the value of feeling loved and having myself be whole and complete. And then there's these people who say, oh, I'm whole and complete without a man. I can be myself. No, you aren't. That's what you have to understand, is that we are designed to be together and balance each other out. Yes, as a man, more incomplete. Women have all the genes, but you can't be in all of them at the same time. It's a big challenge. You've got male genes and female genes. You've got both. And when a man holds the space of being the masculine presence, protecting and supporting, you can go more deeply into your female side, and you can rise up. Your estrogen and testosterone go up together in making love. For a man, he can't connect with his female side other than becoming weak. He has to deny his masculine in order to go to his female. And this is what an addicted man is he has no ability to be happy and fulfilled through his actions and solving problems. He becomes dependent on something to give him pleasure to feel and feel good and feel happy. Oh, I'm taking my drug and I'm happy with my drug. Or I have my pornography and I'm happy with my pornography. Except that with everyone, it just weakens his masculinity. He becomes overly dependent on external stimulation in order to feel good about himself. It only makes you feel good about yourself if you've already built up your masculine side. So every day is an opportunity for men to work, produce results, feel good about their work, and then take their cave time and then go to their relationship. Cave time is to recover from stress and then go over to rebuild your testosterone and then go over to your female side. And that is through fun, through enjoyment, through spending time with your partner. And if it's a relationship with someone you love, that energy, you go over your female side, but your male side increases at the same time. If it's just going off to do porn or play video games and do fun things where you depend on the external world to make you happy, it can make you happy, but it drains you at a certain point and your testosterone goes down. And so you see these men who don't want to work anymore because work's not fulfilling for them, and then their testosterone goes down and they retire and they become dependent on golf and watching TV and scrolling and whatever. It's so easy to do for a man. It's so easy to go to your female side. It's the easy part. The male side is the hard part. And you have to keep doing challenging, difficult things. Not that challenging, but it's like going to the gym, lifting a weight. It's only for a period of time. You do what is challenging you to be a better person, to achieve goals, to be of service, to contribute. Then what happens is you can now kind of go on vacation. You can go spend time with your wife, enjoy her, give to her, and give to her. Rather than cave time, it's just give to myself. So work is I give to others. Cave time is I give to myself. And now relationship is I give and receive. I give and receive. It's relationship. At 56, I lived long enough to date many men. I'm just tired because I cannot find anybody who really interested in me truly. I'm about to give up any advice. Thank you so much. This is the theme of today, which is why women give up. And women can give up even at 25. They can give up at 35. First, let me say for the young women in college, I think it would be great if young women in college would just not have sex at all. Just don't put out. Make out, kiss, they go, I'm not going to go any further. And don't go further with yourself. Postpone it. There's sort of this postponed adulthood that's happening today. If you look back in the 60s, 20-year-old women look much, much older than 20-year-old women today. And I was just talking to my granddaughter, and she's 20 years old, and she goes, I'm not interested in relationships. I'm interested in me, I'm getting education. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to be all this. This is good. This is good not to even think about marriage, even dating guys when you're younger. You can certainly have some kissing, making out, having fun together, but don't orgasm. Don't orgasm unless you've got a committed relationship, and he is there for you and over time. Otherwise, there's a different hormone that gets produced, okay? And when you're in a committed relationship, prolactin happens, and prolactin prevents you from feeling the emptiness of just having sex. And once women are on their male side, they can have casual sex. They don't even know because they're in denial of their female side. The female side is hurt when you open up and someone is not there for you. I lost mine because of this. I didn't realize his value. Yep, that happens. And I'm really glad that this is for all women, which is for women only. A whole chapter in there. What is the value that men bring to the table and how to make sure that you get that value? Because women don't realize what you can get if you don't have the skills to draw it in. And it used to be culture taught men the skills that you needed. And the skills that you needed was a man particularly who was a good provider. He made money, had some manners, he could provide for you. Women didn't expect more. But to the extent that women are on their male side, they need a new kind of support from a man to come back to their female side. And that can only start by dating men and using new skills to pull a man, to use a man to come back to your female side. And so the woman who's done with dating is because the way you're dating is focused on reciprocal giving and receiving. Your dating situation should be purely him doing things for you and you not doing anything for him. And now, that doesn't mean, I heard one guy articulately expressing the over-entitled woman where the man is like doing things for her and she's like, well, I deserve it. Well, of course. Well, why not? You know, it's kind of like I have an employee who does stuff. I'm not going to say, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. My wife, you know, just cleaned up. Our dog evidently is sick and pooped in the house. And my wife was cleaning it up. My reaction was, thank you so much, honey, because I didn't want to do that. Okay, so if it had been a worker and that was their job, I wouldn't be going, oh, thank you so much every time they clean up the poop, you know, because I hire them for that. I thank them with my money. And they don't expect that effusive thank you, just pay me. That's the work world. That's the masculine work world. In a relationship which has to do with tenderness and love and connection and sharing and caring, there has to be a reciprocity. But before a woman should give to a man, he has to prove himself. And at every level, you give more. Not like you just expect him to do things for you. No, it's reciprocal from the point of view of he does something and you appreciate it. He does something and you don't demand more. You don't try to change him or fix him, but you let him do things that help you. And in a very practical sense, recognize that I'm 55 years old as a woman, that the only thing that gives you life force once you're in menopause is to be able to be vulnerable. Otherwise, you just grow old. You lose the passion of a young person, and it's because you're not vulnerable. And unfortunately, biology makes you not vulnerable unless you've learned how to be vulnerable. See, culture used to keep women vulnerable because you couldn't earn money and you're in danger. As long as you can't make money and you're in danger and a man is there for you, you're going to feel vulnerable. You're depending on him and you're feeling grateful for him. But what happens for women after 28, 29, their confidence, their competence, their capabilities, their strength, their all increases. So in that level of competence, what do I need a man for? And it's kind of like that's been the evolution right now to this period of time is what do women need a man for? Not necessarily or primarily the physical safety, although that counts, or the financial security, and that counts. But to the extent that a woman is in a safe world, to the extent that a woman is financially capable of supporting herself, and even if she's not, because she's married to a rich man, she can divorce him and still have enough support. It's done. So what do I need him for? And the women live in that world where they don't need men as much. So what do I need a man for? You have to become aware of that as a woman and know how to ask for that from a man, how to create situations to allow a man to be there for you. So it just comes back to those basics of, you're dating a guy and he'll say, what do you want to do? Give him 3 things, let him do it. Don't do anything for him. Do for yourself. And, this is all for you. That's the dating process, is let a man show what he can do for you. And then if it makes you feel good, then do it again, do it again, do it again. But don't put out sexually. And that's going to your male side. That's the interesting thing is when you have sex with a man, you'll start to, you're either doing it to keep him. That's called, women, he wants sex. So she thinks, oh, I can get him by giving him sex. Or he wants sex. I'll be a people pleaser. It feels good to please other people. I'll give him sex. And sometimes that's just an automatic thing. It's like just being turned on. You think it's for you, and it's not. You have a subconscious stress reaction, which is a people pleaser. It's a fake. You fake to yourself. So many women say, I had sex with a guy, the next day I regret it. Well, why you regret it? Because you didn't listen to your heart, which said that I shouldn't have done that. I gave more than I'm getting. I give more of myself than I'm getting. I revealed more of myself than I'm getting. I opened up more than I should have opened up, because sexual stimulation will do that. I remember watching a big YouTube talk about, it was women to know that when a man, I don't like to talk about all this, I don't have a lot of experience with it, but a woman cannot be turned on. A woman cannot want to have sex at all. But if she's stimulated in the erogenous zones, her body will respond as if she's enjoying sex. So her body will experience pleasure, but at the same time, she doesn't want to be doing this. And she shouldn't be doing it. And so that is abusive. That's taking advantage. But how did she get into it? In many cases today, she chose to do it. And of course, she feels like, if I don't do it, I won't get a man. And that is an illusion. You will. You just have to learn how to communicate. When you're dating a guy, whatever, and your body's starting to feel turned on to him, you know that if I don't have a commitment, I'm not having sex. I'm not going there. I'm not going to get below the waist. I might get above the waist. Kissing and touching is fun, whatever, kind of like teenagers would do. And it's kind of ridiculous. Now you're an adult, you've been married, you have sex, you know the whole thing, but you got to hold back. It's restraint. Everything is restraint. When it comes to why Americans are all overweight, a big part of it is a lack of restraint. You have to have restraint. You can't just follow your impulses, follow what's pleasurable, what feels good. You have to do what's right. And do you have to have sex? I had a woman, she's 55 years old, also saying to me, well, my husband died. What am I supposed to do? Not have sex? That's right. Don't have sex. Don't have sex with myself. Okay. So she says, but I need to have that. No, I certainly don't recommend it. What I recommend is transmuting your sexual needs into your emotional needs. This is a higher level of consciousness, and feel the need for support from other women in terms of friendship, support from men in the dating situation. And so here you are, you're sexual, we are all sexual beings. And if you're satisfying yourself sexually, you're not going to be motivated to go on a date. You're not going to be able to see the benefit of a man in your life. You sort of depleted yourself of that part of you that needs connection. And that can be depleted. The energy of the need to connect emotionally and mentally with someone can be depleted if you satisfy yourself sexually. So you don't have that magnetic attraction. There has to be a negative pole to attract the positive pole. You have to feel the void inside to pull it in, the magnetic quality of attraction to attract a man. But to be attracted to a man is to feel there's something he can provide for me. You can go eat a junk food dinner, and now go to a fancy restaurant. You won't even enjoy the food. You'll feel like it's a waste of money because you didn't enjoy it. But if you haven't eaten and you go to a nice restaurant, healthy restaurant with delicious food, I'm thinking about these really fancy restaurants where you pay a lot more. And I did have the experience. I'd already eaten and before going. And I went, and all this delicious food, I didn't even enjoy it. I felt like, boy, did I make a mistake. It's like my wife gets mad at me. She says, if you eat now, you're not going to enjoy my food I cook for you. I go, okay. It's pure logic. Unless you're feeling the void, the emptiness inside, in touch with the need you can't fully appreciate. And that's the female side of us. And when women are not grounded in the female side, they'll go over to being, I want to please everybody, or I want to make money, I want to be the best, all this ambition and everything on the female side. Nothing wrong with it if you can come back to your female side, but you can get lost over there, just like men get lost in pornography and drugs. And I'm not against, I mentioned at the beginning of the talk, I wasn't against psychedelics. The altered states. I think that it's a nice breakthrough for a lot of people that don't have many years of experiencing some spiritual practice that allows you to experience the non-dimensional, the non-physical dimension. Ironically, right now you're all experiencing the non-physical dimension because you have a thought. If you have a thought, where can you see a thought? It's not physical. You can't see it. That's another dimension, is your thinking. And your intellect is another dimension. The part of you that knows what's true, your spirit, is another dimension. The soul, which is eternal, watching you right now. It's all here. It's just, what are we aware of? And we tend to get just focused in on the awareness of this physical being. which is why we're here, okay, is to bring the higher self into manifestation of this body with desires and needs. And as we fulfill those desires and needs, we experience happiness and fulfillment. And then by having internal work, we can also expand our awareness to then integrate it in, and then expand more to integrate it in. And this is how we experience personal growth, personal development. Again, on a practical level, it's connecting with somebody, feeling safe to be your authentic self. And then as your authentic self, then the parts of you when you weren't connected to your authentic self, where you got squashed, where you got pushed down, where you got traumatized, those parts of you will come up. And if you don't know how to deal with them, you'll just keep eating. So my recommendation is for women and for men to start dating, but don't have sex. Practice the relationship skills. And then as you grow to the place of wanting to make a commitment, then you get to enjoy the higher level of connection. But don't just rush it. It's the same thing with psychedelics. I wouldn't depend on psychedelics to have altered states. I would occasionally have them to know what that experience is, and to awaken that part of my brain that says there is more, because we're constantly being indoctrinated by our material world to just be so outer focused. Meditation is a way, if you feel comfortable with the psychedelics, which are now being legalized in different places as a form of therapy, they can give people a glimpse of another way of looking at things. Part of my whole message is to give people a glimpse of looking at everything differently than what our common knowledge is telling us to do. So ultimately, why women stop dating or are not interested in relationships is they don't have evidence. They don't have evidence of how a man in her life can make her life better. Okay, that's it. What is the evidence of how a man can make her life better? And one of the reasons she doesn't have evidence is depending on how old she is, whether she's been married or not, how many relationships she's been in, and so forth. She's had those relationships where she didn't get what she needed, so there's no evidence that a relationship can make you better. So that you just, why would I do something that doesn't improve my life? Why would I do something that doesn't make my life easier? Doesn't make my life feel more comfortable? That doesn't make my life feel more fulfilled? Why would I want that? They have no evidence that a man can provide that. A big part of this is if you go to the advent of 1969 with the massive amount of divorce, it started, then once again, a child growing up has no evidence of how a man can make the mother happy. You need evidence, I need some evidence to motivate me. I need to see that. For me, it was like part of my whole life was having a spiritual teacher who was evidence that this is possible. So I was driven to it, and from that place, then I began to create evidence. After no longer being a monk, I felt a calling to contribute to the world. I didn't know what it was, and I started having experience being with women and had a lot of evidence that in a relationship where there wasn't commitment or love or deep love and lasting, that it was very depleting for me. So I didn't want to have that. So then I tried the committed love and found that didn't deplete me. So I had evidence of it. That became a value for me and a commitment for me. So the only way you can really change is you have to take the risk of starting to date again and say, I want to create evidence that a man can make my life better. I'm going to stop looking to him for the things I looked to before, which was someone for a reciprocal, I'm going to give to him so he'll give to me, and I'm going to be this for him and he's going to be this for me. You have to stop that. That's often called codependence, where you're making his needs important. Yes, if he's giving to you, then make his needs important. But what are his needs? To understand men is to realize that many men don't know what they need. They think they just need sex. No, what they need is love. And sex helps open the doorway to receive your love. And all it takes is for a man to feel attraction to open his mirror neurons. He doesn't have to have sex. He has to have the potential to have sex. So you get to the potential world where he's attracted to you, interested in wanting to have sex with you. Great, but hey, sex is not everything. Let's go slow. And so you can have the phrase with the guy, say, yes, he'll want to talk you into it. And that's his job, is to plant his seed. He just doesn't understand the importance of planting the seed after commitment. You're the one who holds that awareness, that innate knowing. You have to hold the boundary, and you have to practice your restraint, because a part of you wants to have sex, particularly if you're on your male side. You're just going to want to jump into bed. Or if you're more on your female side, but you feel danger, you'll go to your male side and you'll do what he wants. This is happening. This is sometimes the only way some women can feel sexual desire is by being with the wrong guy, because it produces danger. And so the way to overcome the danger is give him what he wants. So you become a people pleaser, and it feels really good, but then you feel awful afterwards, and then you need, and that's danger again. So you can be super sexually attracted to the dangerous guy, the guy who's not going to be committed to you. And the guy who is committed to you, or has the potential to be committed to you, he's just a nice guy. I'm not interested in him. I don't get turned on. Listen to your body. Not getting turned on is the wisdom of your body that says, yes, I don't have to have sex to be in a relationship. Find a man, find lots of men. Start dating men that you're not turned on to at all. That would be the best indicator. No sexual attraction at all. Nice, easygoing, got a job, interested in you, a bit boring. That's the beginning. You start with that. And then he starts, if you feel bored, good, because if you're feeling bored, at least you're reacting to not having someone in your life. Then process those feelings. Use the Mars-Venus app, the heart space, Mars-Venus heart space app, to start looking at the truth again and again and again, that I'm not happy, I'm disappointed. Underneath boredom is a lot of emotion that you're not willing to look at, which is I'm frustrated, he's the wrong guy, I've been doing this for so long, I feel so disappointed, I feel so discouraged, I feel hurt that I put myself out there and I'm not getting it back. See, these will all be these emotions inside that your brain has to heal. And eventually, hopefully, you can, if you just, well, and for many cases, depending upon how deep your consciousness is, you'll be aware that these are issues that I've had my whole life, of feeling alone, abandoned, unable to get what I need, powerless. And what goes along with that is feeling anger, sadness, fear, regret, and sadness, and what I want, what I need, and greater appreciation for what I have, and the joy that comes from releasing negativity. It always makes you so much happier when you process your emotions. There's in my family, there's someone who is sick. I have a sick relative with cancer, and I do everything I can to help, and I'm being optimistic. But what I need to do is I start feeling flat, and so when I just sort of troubled and flat, and I just process my emotions, and I come back to feeling positive again. They're there. Anytime you're not feeling really good or happy or fulfilled, you've got repressed emotions going on, and you need to look at what they are, and yet you don't think you do, because you're repressing them, because we don't walk around being connected to our true self all the time. This is part of the big challenge in the learning of this world, is we come in authentic beings, but into this world of limitation, we have to learn to integrate that in. And it's through our process, feeling our negative emotions and then letting them go is a big part of it. And for women, it's the journey of vulnerability. When you process negative emotions, you produce more estradiol at any age, women. This is so, the thing about menopause, your body doesn't automatically make estradiol anymore. It used to make automatically estradiol, which is why your emotions can be up and down and all around. At menopause, you start to experience estrone, and that stabilizes you. But it's called weak estradiol. It's weak. It doesn't have all the benefits of it. The younger woman is up and down only because she produces more estradiol and allows her to feel what she needs. And at times when she's not getting what she needs, she'll be emotionally upset. Okay, emotions are there to tell you you're not getting what you need. Some men are not in touch with their needs at all. They're just in touch with what they want. And women go, oh, he's a narcissist. He has no feelings. He has no empathy. He has no compassion. No, he's not. He just needs to have somebody who needs his help, who's not blaming him, and somebody who is vulnerable. And by the way, vulnerability isn't always saying I feel hurt or I'm scared or whatever. That is one part of vulnerability, because it's authenticity. Another part of vulnerability is needing help, depending on someone. And so many women, I'm not going to depend on him. And then you get over 30, then 40, then 50. Then you need someone less for the old things that you used to need a man for. So you're more confident, you're more capable, you're more grounded in yourself. This is all good stuff. But then you have no vulnerability. You have this thing of, I don't need someone. And so then you start to feel, I can't feel the spark. I go out on dates and there's just no spark. There's nothing I'm getting from these guys. And that's because you're not in touch with producing estradiol. And even on a date, after you've gone on a date a few times with a guy, you can feel a certain level of safety. Clear messages, he's more into you than you're into him. That's good. Then what you start to do is have conversations with him. You're not asking him what he feels. You're revealing to him, some of the feelings you have inside. Sometimes I feel, so hurt when I think about my ex-wife, my ex-husband. I mean, being a woman here for a second, I think about my feelings of hurt. I remember when, and sometimes it's good to share with you. Or I'm having these problems with my husband, with my at job and my work, or with my kids. That's always a safe place to talk about what's triggering your feelings inside. But the idea is every person is different, but at every age, life is filled with problems. And the way we react to problems on our male side is cool, I'll solve them. The way we react to problems on our female side is first to react emotionally with frustration, with disappointment, with worry, with anger, with sadness, with fear. These are the stress reactions that women all have, even under moderate stress. So you can share those with somebody in the context of, I just need to talk about it. It feels so good being able to talk about it with you, like using a man as a coach or a therapist. And if you want to practice doing that, go hire a Mars-Venus coach and say, John Gray says I should talk to a coach to be able to process my feelings. They will be there and do it for you. Then you can start using my Mars-Venus app, which I use as well, because sometimes I'm just so pumped up on my male side, feeling so good. And then, but there's lack of feeling love and joy and happiness. I'm pumped up, but I don't have that. I have to process my feelings, what's going on, and that I'm not looking at, and give myself a chance to dip into those feelings, come back to love and happiness. And sometimes they're the same ones. I can look at that thing about the Mars-Venus app is it records, if you want it to, you want to remember this, it will record them. I can go back and read some of my old letters, and they will work as well, but it's good to have it be fresh. It's a little bit better if it's fresh. But it's about kind of like a history of your life when you've got all these records of all your feeling letters. You start to feel a lot of love and compassion for yourself, because that's what processing feelings is. It's you being the parent, connecting to the vulnerable child inside, that part of the brain, which was, it's the same thing. When we're children, only one part of the brain is fully active. So when you're in emotions, you're really connecting with the childlike part of your brain. But you're not a child. I remember a quote from the Bible which said that, to enter the kingdom of heaven, you have to be like a child. You have to be like a child, which means you have to feel vulnerable. You have to have emotions. You have to be hurt by things and sensitive to things. But you're not a child. Be like a child. You're still an adult. You're containing those emotions, and you're processing them and transforming them, learning how to transform negativity into positivity. And particularly if you're beyond menopause, okay, you're 40, 50, you're 60, beyond, you'll just go numb to life to a certain extent. In your quiet moments, certainly if you're lucky, you have a career where you're helping people and contributing to people, or you've got kids and you're taking care of them, that will give you some fulfillment, no question about it. But those moments that wake you up in the night and you have all these insecurities and doubts or regrets and so forth, that part of you can be healed through being in a relationship with a man. You just have to, it's like grist for the mill. What is it? There's a phrase, you have to step out of your comfort zone if you want to keep growing, because the brain always wants safety, repetition, and comfort. And we just sort of get stuck in that. That's what causes aging. It causes wrinkles. It causes lack of life force in your body. You've got to be stepping out. And for women particularly, stepping out means putting yourself in a situation which is going to bring up your feelings of frustration, disappointment, sadness, fear, those kind of things. And it's only by having a man who's not always there for you. The man can't always be there for you. He's like wonderful and charming and this, and then he's got to focus on himself for a while. And when he's focusing on himself for a while, that's where you'll get to experience the insecurities and the doubts and the irrational feelings that you would never want to reveal to anybody, but it goes on in your head. See, I know what goes on in women's heads. They don't share with anybody else because you would look crazy, you would look weak, you would look insecure, you would feel unworthy of love, you would be so jealous, you'd be so mad about things, but you don't reveal that because that makes you look not lovable. So it's all in there. So if you were to put it out there, you wouldn't be that lovable unless somebody has incredible capacity to hear you and you're not sharing it about them. So that's what a therapist can do. You can share anything with me as a therapist because I already know that to the extent the negativity is there, there's all this positivity on the other side. I just know that the brain becomes hijacked by stress and becomes the opposite of what it is. It's hard to remember that when your partner is focusing on you with those negative feelings. If you have your partner focusing on you with negative feelings, if you're a man, your mirror neurons will close down. This is not something he can choose not to do. This is automatic. Men will mirror. If a woman is upset, then he'll be upset with her. He can't just be present in his heart open place while you're sharing your feelings, if your feelings are in any way implying that he's the problem. So, and of course, if you're thinking men are the problem, because of your past experience, you won't want to date again. And that's the dynamic there of good endings make good beginnings. So if you're single and you're thinking and not dating, one of the things you can think about is processing all of your complaints about the men in your life in the past. Imagine going back to that time and recognizing that you were part of the problem and not just them. If you can recognize, this is why all this understanding is so good, and for men as well, to recognize when relationships didn't work. If you go back in time and you look at, okay, what did I do? What was I missing? What did I not know that I know now? And so I can make a relationship work better. If you can go back to past relationships and go, what is it I didn't know then that I know now? And then that's a newness, that's an awareness. That gives you dopamine, it also gives you motivation, it also gives you the wisdom of recognizing dating is a wonderful thing to do, even though people burn out on dating because they expect more than you're going to get, as opposed to expect less so that you can then process what comes up and feel that angst. And when someone said, I'm tired and I want to give up on it, I just can't do it, that's great. That's great. I'm tired. Always under tired is I'm so angry, I'm so mad. And where does that anger come from? Yes, the frustration of men who weren't there for you, men who didn't give you, men who didn't call back, or men who are insensitive, or men, then you make it even worse by going to men who are narcissists, men who betray me, men who are hurt me. Then you go, okay, great. This is helping me connect with an unconscious part of me that I think I've dealt with, I've handled it, I did this Gestalt therapy and I processed it. Yeah, you did it. Got to do it again. Got to do it again until it's easy to deal with, and even recognizable. When things go bad, what's wonderful, I was saying it to my wife the other day about this person who's sick, and I'm really upset about it inside sometimes. And I just go, always when there's negative things, something good happens. I don't know what it's going to be, but something's going to happen. But having that context, well, something's good is going to happen, doesn't mean I don't still need to process my emotions. We're multidimensional beings. When there's stress in our lives, when things aren't what you want, there's a part of you inside that's going to be emotionally upset about it. Another part of you up here that goes, everything's perfect just the way it is. And that's called spiritual bypass. And a lot of people doing techniques when they're younger, they do spiritual bypass. And then at a certain point, and that's good, they connected with their spirit, but then they start finding that they're suffering. And what's going on here is because once you go up, you've got to come down. You've got to integrate the higher wisdom and the connection that everything is good, everything is a gift, everything is supportive. There's another part of it is going to be feeling, what's the gift about this? This is not good. This is not good. So to look at dating as a therapy for you, which is to have the experience and then to be able to process it. And in the beginning, use a Mars-Venus coach. or become a Mars Venus coach. A lot of people who have been coached by a Mars Venus coach find so much benefit from it. They become a Mars Venus coach, and you can, without making it even your profession, although lots do, and they're very successful at it. But many just, want to be able to integrate this material and maybe coach a few people or even family members. Although, what we do in Mars Venus coaching is teach you how to get people to coach. The way you do it is very simple. I've got Rich on the phone. Rich is the head of Mars Venus Coaching. Let's take about 5 minutes to help give people encouragement that if they wanted to become a Mars Venus coach, how would you find somebody to coach? It's such a satisfying experience to help people take one step forward. And one of the things we do is we have these pre-made workshops for you to teach, and they're really easy to teach. They're our basic material. Maybe explain what those workshops are, Rich, and how people can get clients when they want to become a coach.
One thing I do want to mention, John, is you just said it. 50% of our coaches, this is a statistic around the world, actually were a client of one of our coaches. And after a couple of months of coaching, they said, I want to do what you're doing. And they call me. That's 50%. That is a really good percentage of people that are receiving the coaching services and then want to become one.
Let me interrupt you for a second. I just remember back 40 years ago, I was teaching these ideas in San Quentin prison and workshops. And all of the graduates, what was unique about this statistic is they never went back to jail. And the profession they picked was drug counseling. Because they saw, people are lost in their addictions and their problems. They don't know how to get support or give support, and how, in a sense, how easy it can be to take the next step. So continue on, Rich, with that answer.
Yeah, I just wanted you guys to know that if you hire one, then you'd probably want to become one. Because the other side of the coin is our coaches are taught how to, let me just back up. The biggest challenges coaches have to get clients, not Mars Venus, but around the world, there are so many coaches, is credibility. And so we've taught our coaches to build credibility through the workshop model. We teach them how to invite people, whether it's 6 or 8 or 12 or 15 people. They conduct a workshop around your 7 most popular books. They can pick anyone, they can do all of them. And so we've taken like why Mars and Venus collide, how men and women cope with stress differently, or secrets of successful relationships, or children are from heaven, or all the different workshops we've created where the coaches invite people, conduct the workshop, and now they have credibility. So when they set up a complimentary session with the client, or the people that attended the workshop, they're ready to then have that session. We teach you how to make it very poignant, very deep, and then they want to buy your services. So remember that. The thing that's missing if you were to go to a different coaching school is 1, the credibility piece, and 2, the brand. To say, I'm a gender intelligent Mars Venus coach, people always, wait, what? What is that? That's very different than I'm a life and relationship coach. So we have 2 very strong credibility builders out in the marketplace.
Very nice. Nicely said. And, if I'm listening to that, I'm going, well, how could I teach a class? And I have to tell you, sometimes people think that you have to be as knowledgeable as John Gray, who's been doing this for 50 years, to be a Mars Venus coach. Do they need that, Rich?
No, not at all. In fact, we not only teach you how to conduct the workshops, they're all PowerPointed with presenters' notes, with handouts, with workbooks, everything they need. So what they're looking at is that workshop. How is it going to help me? They're not looking at who are you. This is John's work, and that's how you present it, is you're just taught by all of John's videos and all we do in the classes, and just follow the structure. Yes, we want to rehearse it with you in class so you learn how to do it, but that's the hardest thing is the first workshop. I remember doing my first workshop 20 years ago with you, and I talked and swallowed at the same time. I was so nervous. I remember your first one where you fainted.
Well, you remember me telling that story, my first talk I gave, but I did not have, I didn't have the support that our people have. But yes, it's nervous the first time, without a doubt.
Everybody gets nervous, but it's okay because they're not looking at you. They're looking at the content and saying, how can this help me? And every time you do it, you get more and more confidence. And then the people that sign up for your one-on-one complimentary session after the workshop starts to improve every time you do one.
It's really wonderful. So someone was just saying that she wanted to become a coach. Well, what does she do? What's the step to become a coach?
Just go to marsvenuscoaching.com and take the quiz. Mars Venus Coaching is different than marsvenus.com, John's website. Go to ours, Mars Venus Coaching, or you can find it on John's website. Go to his courses, scroll down, you'll see a tab to become a coach. Just fill that out, we'll contact you. And that first contact, by the way, we're not going to try to sell you. We just want to see if it's a good fit for you and us. It's not a sales call. It's an exploration. Whether you'd be a good fit for us and we'd be a good fit for you.
That's very nice. Thank you, Rich. You know, one of the things that I always am teaching our coaches is you do not have to be an expert in relationships to become a relationship coach. You're learning along with everybody else. Okay, so that's the idea, is you have the resource of John Gray, who's been doing this 50 years, and this is what his program is, and you're still learning it. So sometimes people, really the best coaches are the people who are going to recognize, well, I'm not that great at relationships, or I'm not perfect. How can I help somebody else? Just that humbleness is enough to be a helpful teacher for someone or a coach for someone. And we teach you how to do coaching without having all the answers for people, but to help them find their own answers. So I was, Gazelle also, she was saying she was interested in becoming a coach. That's good. She wanted to become a coach. So thank you, Gazelle.
Please reach out to us.
Yeah, just reach out to Rich. That would be really wonderful. So today's theme, I'm going to do a little summary now. Some of the things we've covered. What is it? Choosing to be single. Choosing to be single. Why many women, half of women who are single are not wanting to be in relationship. Well, from my point of view, they're not wanting to be in a relationship because they don't know the benefits of being in a relationship with a man. They've had the experience of being with men and not benefiting from men. They don't see women getting the benefit from men. They don't understand what kind of benefit a man can provide. And on a very basic biological level, women today, when they're alone, need the benefit of a man. Now, that could be by having sons, without a doubt. That could be by having a lot of workmen and handymen helping you. And these are helpful things. It can be having a coach, and even a male coach, even though a female coach can be wonderful as well, a male therapist as well. Having a job where you really feel a man is supporting you and taking care of you in that way. You can benefit from these, but not even close to what the benefit can be from having a romantic relationship with a man. It can be your biggest suffering. It can be your greatest experience. When you understand men, it can be your greatest experience. And you get that. And one of your greatest experiences, I always have to qualify, in relationship. There's a relationship. Certainly there's other things in our life that can be very, very fulfilling. But if you're missing this one, those won't be as fulfilling. We'll put it that way. And just as I can have a great relationship with my wife, a woman can have a great relationship with a man. But if she doesn't have a great relationship with herself, it's not going to be as fulfilling. So there's that dynamic here. But why women are not choosing to be in relationship is they're not seeing a greater benefit from being with men. And a big reason for that is they're not in touch with their need to have a man in their life, because our culture teaches you primarily the function of a man is to provide money for you, protection for you, and that's about it. That's what my mother got from my dad, and she was very, very happy. But in today's culture, where women can be so independent, so educated, and civilization exists where survival is not really facing us right away. I mean, danger is not at your front door. It's getting that way in some parts, but right now, generally, we're safe, reasonably safe. What do you need a man for? And what you need a man for is a kind of emotional fulfillment that you don't know what you don't know. So you can't know it until you experience it. You can't know what you need until you experience it. Let's say you need milk to be healthy. You don't know you need milk. Milk is something completely foreign, but then suddenly you're a baby and there's this boob and your body knows to suck. When my daughter was a baby, I still remember putting my finger in her mouth. Oh my gosh, it's like a vacuum cleaner. It's just sucking the blood out of my finger. And every woman knows that who's had a child. It's a big sucking power of a child. They come in sucking, pulling in to get that milk. And you get that milk and your body goes, yes, this is what I want. This is what I need. So you don't know what you need until you get it. And what you do know, at least at a certain point, what you don't need, I mean, you know you're not getting what you need when you're suffering. So that's the only thing we have to know, is that when we're stressed, and that's a form of suffering, but when we're stressed, just know, are not happy and not fulfilled, there's a need that's not being fulfilled. And when it comes to intimate relationships, it's not knowing that a man can fulfill those needs. Ava says, I highly recommend becoming a Mars-Venus coach. It really changed my life. Thank you, Ava. When you have a need and it's being met, you will experience this fulfillment. And suffering goes out of your life when you identify the need and you recognize that you have the power to get what you need. It's not only just getting what you need, it's knowing I have the power to get what I need. A lot of why women do not date is they don't know they have the power to get what they need with a man. They don't know what they need from a man that's truly going to touch their heart, and they don't know how that they have the power to get that. And you only get those things through experience. So you have to begin dating the person who is more interested in you. Put yourself in situations for men to become interested in you. And don't be so interested in them. Don't do what everybody says to do, which is if you want someone to be interested in you, be interested in them. No, don't be so interested in them. Don't try, is what I'm saying. Is be more authentic. But the problem with being authentic is many women are authentically people pleasers. And so they're going to go right into pleasing him and being interested in him and asking questions of him and trying to go into him. You have to practice restraint. And it's easiest to practice restraint when a man is more interested in you. And so you're not trying to get something from him. Because when women want to get something, their lower nature will want to give to get rather than receive and then give back. And so what is your value to a man? So you don't feel the need that you have to give to him. Your value is receiving. Every man needs a woman to receive him. I mean, even if you think about it on the most sort of dense levels, you know, a man wants his sexuality to be received by you, okay? He wants to get into you, receive me. That's what sex is all about. But it doesn't have to be just physical. You want to start mentally and emotionally where you receive what a man has to offer through being interested in what he has to say, connecting with him, feeling at ease with him, having him do things for you, having him provide things for you. He takes you on a date. You let him know where you'd like to go, but you know the technique. Give him 3 things he can pick. You know, create opportunities for him to give. Make sure you don't give, you know, if he's really into you, he's going to want to spend all this time with you. No, keep it balanced. Keep it balanced. Make sure you're taking care of your friendships and your education and yourself. So you're not just going right into him. And of course, what we talked about today is the most important thing is that one of the reasons women are not in relationships today or don't even want to be in relationships today is I really do not look forward to being naked with another man, okay, which is being that vulnerable with a guy who's not there for you, because there's this pressure and women succumb to the pressure of having sex before there's commitment. And commitment has to be there, has to be real, has to be tested, have to bond and mentally, then emotionally. Then you bond sexually, because when a man bonds sexually, if he hasn't bonded with you emotionally and mentally, when the sex experience is over, he will withdraw and become interested in somebody else or have less motivation to give to you, and you'll just become a booty call. And you don't want that. You know you don't want that. And you think all men are that way. No, men become that way when you give more to a man than he's giving to you. You create it. You're the creator of relationships in your life. So John says to share vulnerability with our partner. To be vulnerable with your partner is to depend on your partner. To depend on them for something of value and of meaning. And what is that? Is safety. A man can provide emotional safety in terms of hearing you, being present for you. But why have you never experienced that with a man? Because you didn't ask for it. And of course, I wrote this book. It's all about learning how to get what you want from a man by learning the art of asking. You have to understand what you're dealing with here, how to motivate him. Women often think I shouldn't have to motivate him. No, you have to. That's all part of the dance. It's not just one-sided. You have a role and he has a role. His role is to be motivated, to take action, to provide more for you, to be of value to you, provide of what is of significance to you. Your role is to know what is of significance to me. What am I missing as a woman? What is it that I need? What is it that I would like? And go a little deeper with that, which is why I suggest you read this book, which is to go into understanding the hormonal balance. Is that what you need a man for in a world that makes you more masculine, is how to come back to your feminine side. And men have the power to do that. If you just learn how to invite that power into your life, to activate that power in a man, to bring forth a part of men that you didn't know existed. And if you don't know that, if you don't experience that power, then you think that men are just selfish, and then you'll throw a term on it like they're narcissistic and men are abusive when they're not, okay? In some cases, yes, a violent argument, but it doesn't happen where a violent argument happens without two players involved in it. And in my book here, I also teach about how to, practically speaking, to diffuse a man's anger. Absolutely, people get angry. It's just women don't know how they'll just keep poking at the bull. They don't understand how they do that. And so you have to understand how in your relationship, you, by not understanding men, thinking you're doing the best thing, bring out the worst in them. Just as a man thinks he's doing the best thing by trying to tell you why you shouldn't feel what you feel and validating your feelings, being demanding of you, complaining to you, all this stuff that men do, they don't know better, and you can communicate them what will work for you. And the more you communicate to a man, not how he should change, but what you need, what you would like, and how to communicate that in a way that he can hear without feeling blamed. This is an art. This is an art. This is what women have not yet learned. This is why 50% of women do not want to be in relationships. One, they don't know the potential of relationship. They haven't seen it. They haven't experienced it. They've experienced the opposite. And it's not readily available. You have to know as a woman how to bring forth that in a man. You know, some women are very competent, capable, successful. They go, oh, men just, they're too intimidated by me. No, they're just turned off by you. There may be some intimidation, but it's from the point of view of what do I have to offer her? I have no significance to her. And from her point of view, what gives him significance? And unless women understand their need to become vulnerable in a relationship, their need for a man to be present for them, their need to be heard and held by a man, if they can't feel that need and the sadness and the hurt and the aloneness and the pain of not having that, if you can't feel the pain of that, then you can't appreciate that. And if you can't appreciate that, why would I want to be with a man, a woman might think? Because it has no value to me. So we have to understand the value of a man, and men experience the value of a woman as a woman provides that value. And how does a woman provide the value? To teach men what women really can provide is she has to learn to help bring a man to make her fulfill her. You know, when you create the safety, when you create the invitation, when you communicate how to bring out the best in a man, then he recognizes what a woman's value is. Why is the onus on a woman to calm down the man? Don't you teach men to not be hot-headed and angry at everything? Absolutely, Barbara. Of course I teach men that. I'm just telling women, you can teach men that, but women, you have the power to poke at the bear and he will continue. And yes, men, you have the power to walk out of the room as soon as a woman is poking. Today's theme was pretty much about women. Some of my talks are all about how men need to contain and not speak. But what's going on is that you can teach men to contain and not speak, but if a woman doesn't understand that that is a value you get in a man, which is containment, she will keep asking questions of him when he is becoming annoyed and make him more angry. And yes, of course, I teach men how to be completely accountable and so forth. But let me point out that often men will become quiet and women will chase after them. Women will ask questions. Women will continue to provoke. So yes, it's always both sides of it, no doubt about it, because I can always leave the house. I mean, I make a joke about teaching in one men's group. And I said, look, if you're starting to get angry, you need to, if you can't contain, at a certain point you can't contain, then you need to exit. And you have to say as best you can, instead of like, I'm not going to take this shit anymore. You say something like, I need to think about this, and we'll talk about it later. And you walk away. And one guy said, well, she always follows me. And I said, well, have you tried going to the bathroom? He said, she'll follow me into the bathroom. Well, it's still not an excuse. Get in your car and drive off. But then she'll hate me. No, she won't. She'll learn that when you drive off, you come back, and you come back a nice guy. But she needs to read my book or understand my understanding of men, because when he does come back after going on his drive, he doesn't have any resentments. He's not holding on to anything. He's already gone through it, because by rebuilding his testosterone, he feels better. And for the woman, if she doesn't understand that, she thinks, oh, he hasn't yet talked about his feelings. He hasn't processed them. And so therefore, if he comes out acting really nice, he's hiding it. Why does she think that? Because that's what women do. Women need to talk about stuff, and it takes her longer to process any kind of upset than a man. We can do it very quickly, unless it's cortisol. Now, if we're in cortisol land, it takes longer, without a doubt, but it's certainly not by talking. It's by rebuilding your testosterone, a very important skill. So yeah, we deviated a little bit, but that was a good question. It can start to sound like I'm saying it's all up to women, when isn't it also up to men? Yes, no doubt about. But what I will say, there is a bias in what I communicate, which is that there is let's say a man is following everything I say, but if a woman is educated in the belief system of not knowing what a woman is and what a man can do for a woman and how a man should be like a woman. I mean, there's some women who just, they cringe at the thought of my ideas. This is horrible. This is sexist. This is terrible. So here's a guy trying to be this good guy doing the skills that I'm teaching, which is take your time. Simple skill, or listening. Just take time to listen and say, I hear you. Women, well, I want more than I hear you. I need to know what you're feeling. I need to know what your reaction is. I don't know what you're thinking while I'm saying that, and get him to talk. Or what are you going to say about that? And he can say, I hear you, which is what I tell men to do. And well, that's just not good enough. So she has to understand what's going on here as a role of a woman to connect with her femininity, to pull out the best in a man. Men as well. It's just simpler for men if they have a cooperative partner. So and this is my reality, and I've done it over and over, where couples, when I used to teach my workshops, a woman would say, we have a child, only one of us can come, who should it be? Always the woman should come. Because, women, you have the power to bring out the best in a man. A man does not have the power to bring out the best in a woman. A man can create the safety and the support for a woman to find the love if she has the knowledge of how to do it. But if she's lost on her male side, very hard for a man to do it all. Women can do it all. It's like what they say, women can do it all, not at the same time. But women have the potential to open a man's heart, and which he's never experienced unless he, at a young age, had his mother's love. If his mother was happy and fulfilled, then usually he comes out into puberty with a bigger heart. Most men don't, because of our divorce culture and so forth. And even if you do have your heart, you still don't have a doorway into women, because a woman has to find the part of her. I mean, she has to find the part of her that needs a man. And I'm having the thought here as well. When I look at the theme of today, 50% of women do not want to be in a relationship. You don't see that with men when it comes to sex. You won't see men, 50% of men are not interested in sex. They all are. And they just don't understand that behind their desire for sex is to feel love and to be in relationship. They just don't know that. But the hormones are still there for men. But it changes after 40. There's a lot of men over 40, 50, 60, are not even interested in sex. Whereas for women as well, they're not interested in a relationship. So there we have the dilemma today is we want to keep men, their testosterone up, and then their interest in sex will increase. And a woman has the power to do that. If a woman is stressed out, I can just create safety for her, but it's her knowing she has to be willing and able to find the vulnerability inside herself, and then she can create the relationship of her dreams. So women have much greater power to create relationship than men. Ava says, really love Lauren's course, Understanding Men. It gives so much clarity about men and pulling away. Ava, thanks for mentioning that. Women can know that when you're on your male side, men are not safe to come back to. The reason you went to your male side to a great extent is culture pushed you there, but also it was easy to go because it's not safe to be feminine in this world. There's not a lot of respect for vulnerability, not a lot of respect for femininity. Men don't know what to do when a woman is feminine. But see, the thing I'm saying is that men, you just tell them what to do, they'll do it if you know how to communicate with them. So women can go back to their female side with knowledge, and that's what's missing today. So understanding men helps women understand why men don't give you the support you need and how you are unknowingly sabotaging your relationships so men can't give you the support because they're always willing. Men, basically, the whole desire for a man to have sex is to experience going over to his female side. We're there. It's just for women, that desire is to go to their male side, and they need to come back to who they are. But most men have not patience today to date a woman who will not have sex until a commitment, at least in Spain. I get it. I get the whole liberal idea that we should all just do what we like and so forth. It's also here in America. I just want you to know, and the secret to this is, first of all, you stop, okay? And you stop going after men. And you wait for the men that are boring, who are more interested in you. They're not going to be pushed away without an interest in sex. You've got to start building up your confidence that you deserve to be in a relationship. This is where we manifest what we think. Right now, this is your belief that if I don't put out sexually, a man's not going to stay. So that's a belief. And so you'll attract men who will fit that. So there's men that won't fit that. They're just going to be the men who are not stimulating your high dopamine levels. They're going to be more boring to you at first. Okay, so this is where you get to practice being your relationship skills and build up your confidence. What balances this is for young men, what you have to learn to do is make the request. Basically, you have to interact with women. You have to get out of your comfort zone, say, hey, would you like to spend some time? We can go to lunch together. Would you give me your number? We can talk. We can see, maybe we can go out together. I'd like to get to know you. So he has to take that moment where he can be rejected, and he will be rejected. And so I remember all the rejections. But it's like in sales, you're going to be rejected, but then you have a success, and then you have another success, and your confidence builds upon success. So what you have to do is build your confidence that I can say no, and men still want to be with me. Because there's a belief, and so many women have this because it is a reality, and the reality is there because women will let it happen. But these are the words to use when a man you're getting sexual, you're feeling attracted, maybe you're kissing and touching, and then you stop and you say, and this is even why the first kiss, a wise woman will go, I think I better go home. I'd rather stop here this time. Okay. Always create a sense of hope, but I need to go slow. I need to go slow. And then you qualify it, which is I need to go slow. But why? Don't you feel it? Yes. I'm sure at the right time it would be wonderful. I'm sure at the right time it will be wonderful. But I need to go slow. And then, why do you need to go slow? It's just my biology is. I know if I go slow, it will be so wonderful. So don't put it in a he. I know that if I have sex right away, you're going to lose interest in me. Don't say that. You just say your truth inside of you, which is, I need to go slow. For me, I need to feel I have a relationship before and just getting to know you. It seems very exciting. And then as it pursues on, well, how much longer do we have to wait? I'll let you know. That's a great thing to say, is I'll let you know. And let's just go first base, second base, third base, home run. Just, gradually go to first base, second base. Let's stay there until we have a commitment. And that's how you have a conversation about commitment, which is, what, I'm not ready to commit to you even or you're not ready to commit to me. But once we're in that committed relationship, then I know for sure I'll feel safe to have sex. I'll feel comfortable. I want to have it. But for me, I'm more traditional. I need that. That's another phrase you can use. Hi, John. I try to ask my partner to help with both big and small things, but in the end, it doesn't help. Or sometimes even makes things worse because he procrastinates so much or he forgets. I get it. You're not the only woman. It's very simple. Read this book. Chapter 13 and 12 is all about how you're asking for big things and little things and so forth. It also prepares you for a request. You can't ask for more unless you're already giving clear messages that he doesn't have to give more. And then giving more, doing more is extra. And becoming conscious of the ways that you unknowingly push a man away. There's a lot more into that. But yeah, it's not just as simple as what I say. But you have to get into the depth of understanding the languaging you're using, the tone of voice that you're using, the timing that you're using, and also dealing with your impatience. Oh my gosh, your impatience is going to keep a man from ever doing anything for you because you haven't yet developed patience. And part of being patient is having the right expectations, is that when you ask for little things, men will forget. And here's one example from the book. And when men forget, you have to have an attitude that doesn't judge him for forgetting. You see, if you judge a man for forgetting, he's going to forget more. Anytime you criticize, anytime you reject, anytime you're disapproving, anytime you mistrust, all of that just shuts a man down. And you get the same behavior again and again. What you resist will always persist in your life. How do you get a man to change without resisting him? That's hard. See, this is why relationships are not so easy. This is why all these little tools and techniques that I'm teaching are really, really important. I've given a whole talk on how to increase the love bank so that both of you are feeling fulfilled and accepted and understood. Then it doesn't even matter how you ask, and you'll get, and learning how much to ask and how do you respond when he does. All of these factors, and boy, it sounds like a big, big thing. Actually, it's a few days to read the book, okay? And then you have a picture of how to throw the basketball to get it into the hoop, and then you have to practice throwing it in the hoop. And what you're going to see is when you practice throwing a basketball into a hoop, you'll miss. These guys, Steph Curry, who can throw it from the other end of the thing and get it in. It's just amazing, like superpower. He practices for hours, several hours every day doing that. That's mastery. You don't need mastery, but you do need to have the skill. Somebody show you how to do it, and then you have to practice it and practice it with easy thds. And so it's there. That's not the whole topic of today. So I'm like, we're pretty much finishing up today, but that's in the book. Christy Lynn, it took a couple of days, but my husband is finally outside mowing the lawn. I just smiled to tell him thank you. Your advice works for many things, and younger women will realize this in time. Unfortunately, younger women don't realize it in time. To expect a man to just be on call and do what you want is to make him into a servant. He doesn't want to be a servant. He doesn't want somebody telling him what to do. He's got his work all day long. He is serving the will of other people. He's obedient to his boss if he works for a company. Marie says, but if he forgets, what do you say without putting him on the defense? You don't say anything. If he forgets, you don't say anything. What you do is you ask again at another time as if you're asking the first time. So, hey, honey, would you mow the lawn? Sure, I'll get to it. 2 days pass. Oh, honey, would you mow the lawn today? Is this a good time? Done. Don't have to say, oh, you've done it, you didn't do it, I've been waiting all this time. You just ask again, and then drop it after 3 times, and then start focusing on something else that he can more easily be motivated to do. And then bring it back later. Okay, so it's just don't put the pressure on a guy that you're not doing what I want. Whenever you're pushing against a man, he will push against. That's just the reality. How long should one date until finding someone who one can see oneself living with? I've been dating 3 years, but the men who are after me are not open-minded enough for me. Is he out there? Let me just reflect on this. I need to connect for a moment. How long should one date until finding someone who can see who you'd want to live with. I've been dating for 3 years, but the men who are after me are not open-minded enough for me. Is he out there? Okay. So I've just connected with you, and I don't think you're open-minded enough to see the good in the men that you're dating. And I would suggest that it is a lack of being transparent and depending upon the men that you're with. And what happens is if you're not touching into the part of you that needs a man and you're vulnerable, it's hard not to be critical of them or to be judgmental of them and conclude that this is not the person I want to share my life with. You'll feel it's the person you want to share your life with when you've touched into the vulnerability of what you need, and this is what I need. Now, this is hard because you're over 40 years old, and it's hard to say about age for women, but I just saw your picture, I checked in, and so for many women, we'll just put it this way, who are not making the estradiol they did when they were younger, are now making estrone. When you're making estrone, you can't feel the real spark. That spark that says, I'm in love with this person and I would like to share my life with them. Okay, and she says they're not open-minded enough. I didn't really understand fully what she meant by that. Are they not open-minded to want to be married? If you get a clear message that they have no interest in ever being married, move on. You move on. There's plenty of men that want to get married. The guys want to get married, and they often say, I want to get married, but I haven't found the right one. And the right one is the one that feels a spark with him. If you can feel a spark with a man, then he can get the message that you're the right one. John, what would you say to a woman who's 46 and due to difficulties finding a partner would like to have a baby on her own through IVF? Well, I have 2 clients who are going through that same process, and I support you in your desire. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But the difference here is that you'd like to have a baby on your own through IVF with another man's sperm. I'm presuming you're going to go buy some sperm and some man who's not going to be there, you're going to raise his child. I say follow your heart, okay? So I don't want to judge people, but just to know that this is a very challenging situation. You're going to have let's say you succeed in having a baby. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful experience, and you need to make as a priority in that process of finding a man to help you raise that baby. Now, are there men that would do that? Yes, they exist. And if this is the right thing for you and you have the right relationship skills, you will find that man. But you have to recognize you're 46 years old and you don't have that man. So your relationship skills are not what it takes to draw a man into your life. So you need to focus on really putting into practice, starting to date and continue with your IVF on the other side. If this is important to you, I respect that, I honor that, and it actually may improve your dating possibility simply because you need a man to help you raise that child, and therefore that is vulnerability. I'm going to have this child, I'm going to need help, and so in a sense, what happens when you actually feel I need help is that your high expectations of what you have to fall in love drop. Okay, and you will be able to, in a healthy way, settle. Okay, so settling is something has a derogatory meaning to it. So it's so wise. I know some people are going to take this the wrong way, but settle. Because so many people are single because they have totally unrealistic expectations. All my friends, after Bonnie died and I remarried, they're just like, why did you marry this woman? What is it about this woman? In their minds, they're saying, John, you can have anybody. Why are you settling with her? That's all they're thinking. I know one of my friends, he's like the most handsome, amazing guy, and his wife is not what you would expect to mirror a handsome guy. Why did you settle with her? It's something in love. It's love. It's a fitting together. It's not demanding somebody to be everything, but there's certain qualities that I know what I value, and therefore it doesn't matter anything else. Okay, doesn't matter anything else. What is most important for me? It's what a woman has to recognize. What is most important for you, and settle with everything else. And what is most important for you is that right now you want to have a child, and you haven't been able to find a man to have a child with, and you're 46 and you've got your eggs, so you're going to go for making a child. Okay. But now you should say, this is the most important thing, that I have a man who helped me do this, and he doesn't have to have all these other qualities which other men in your life didn't have, and you rejected him for that. You have to settle down to what is most important, and be able to relish that I have that in my life. And that is the most important thing. So, and see, for me, what's the most important thing in a woman is vulnerability, and that's what I found. I found the most vulnerable woman I've ever met and fell in love with her. And that's why you hear me talking about vulnerability so much, is because I experience the power of it, and I see it, and I help all my women clients learning how to experience greater vulnerability, and their relationships improve. And I just happen to find the perfect mirror of a woman who expresses the level of vulnerability that I require. And that was a key factor. And also, being vulnerable, you see who the person is. And I joke about it. She's like a twin of me. You know, her insecurities, her feelings, whatever. When I connect with them, I can realize I relate to that. Yes, I used to be that way, or I am that way. I have it inside of me, and I can give her full compassion. And that's what brings out the best in a man, is compassion. John, you're saying, do not give to a man. Some men doesn't want to receive, only give. I'm confused. Thank you for clarifying that, asking for the clarity. A man wants to receive. We're all looking for, what value does a woman have for me? And so he doesn't always know what it is, just like women don't always know the value a man can provide for you. But does he want to receive? Absolutely. All human beings want to receive. But what does a man need to receive? He needs to receive he's been successful in giving to you. Your feedback, that you're appreciative, that you're grateful, that you're patient. See, patience is a real key gift. You know, my wife isn't demanding of me. She's not pushing me. She's not trying to change me. And she'll apologize when she is. We did a whole show on the power of apology from a woman. Like the woman who's, feels impatient, her husband's not doing this and this and this. Say, honey, I just realized I'm so sorry I reacted that way. I mean, you're busy doing so many things, and I know you'll get to it. Walk out of the room. See, simple as that. And then when he does something nice that you asked for, he says, I just want to notice that you did that, and I just want you to know how good it makes me feel. And walk out of the room. Just done. So it's how to express love in a way that works for men on an emotional level. So yes, what do I need to receive? I need to receive your love. And love is a reaction. What women need from men is an action based upon love. So when a man does things for a woman, and even presence is a doing for her, I'm giving her my presence. But for a woman, it's a reaction. That's the love that a man needs, is what is your reaction to my mistakes? What is your reaction to my deeds? What is your reaction to my providing something to you? How do you react to me? Is it with love, which would be with trust, and with acceptance, with appreciation, with admiration, with respect? All these different kinds of reactions to me is what I need from you. And from you, it's not my reaction. Certainly, I'm happy to see you, whatever, but more, if I'm happy to see you, what do I do for you? Okay, folks, I'm going a little over time, so I want to thank you all for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure sharing with you some of the reasons why women are choosing to be single and not in relationship, because they don't see how a man can enrich their lives. And now we're learning how a man can enrich any woman's life. And a good idea is to hook up with that guy and share the rest of your life with him. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure sharing with you today. Have a good day. And may you always grow in love.
Thank you for watching the Shades of Grey podcast with Dr. John Gray, best-selling author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And follow Dr. Gray on all social media platforms for more timeless relationship wisdom. For free tools to create deeper love and better communication, visit marsvenus.com and take Dr. Gray's free course, How to Get Everything You Want in Relationships. And don't miss next week's episode of the Shades of Grey podcast, where understanding brings us closer together.